Thanks for taking time to listen to this episode of the Real ResQ podcast. Take a minute to go to therealresq.com to check out these and other great deals from our sponsors here at the Real ResQ. This episode of the Real ResQ podcast is brought to you by Breeze Eastern, the world's only dedicated helicopter hoist and winch provider. Axness, because when lives are at stake and conditions are challenging, clear communication is of the utmost importance. Life Saving Systems Corporation. We do our work so you can do yours. Tough gear for tough jobs. And SR3 Rescue Concepts, because you don't know what you don't know. Breeze Eastern. They dedicate themselves to our helicopter rescue world. Since the very first helicopter rescue in November of 1945, Breeze Eastern has designed and manufactured superior rescue hoist solutions. While much of the technology and the unique mission requirements have changed over the past 75 years, their commitment to the rescuers, the operators, and those being rescued has not. Contact them today by visiting them at breeze-eastern.com. The Axness PNG wireless ICS system can bring cutting-edge wireless intercommunication system technology to any aircraft. The PNG system can be fully integrated into an existing ICS system or can be carried on and off as a mobile base station. They can go anywhere at any time on any aircraft. Plus, with the strongest and most robust waterproof handheld on the market, this system can take a hit and keep working. Their wireless intercom systems are designed to enhance situational awareness through improved communication capability. This system brings superior noise canceling technology to eliminate rotor wash and engine noise from your ICS. The Axness PNG wireless system is currently deployed in more than 1,800 public safety, air ambulance, and search and rescue aircrafts worldwide. I have personally used the Axness system in 4 different countries and on 5 different airframes. It is awesome. If you want more information, contact them today at axness.com. That's AXNES.com. You just make sure you tell them Quinny sent me. Life Saving Systems Corporation. They manufacture the world's toughest helicopter rescue gear. From my favorite harness as a rescueman, the Triton harness, to the rescue baskets, the litters, and of course, the most popular hook in all helicopters, the D-Lock. The team at LSC will cut, bend, sew, weld, and machine these products into existence every day. We do our work so you can do yours. LSC. Tough gear for tough jobs. Check them out today at lifesavingsystems.com and follow them on Instagram at Rescue Gear. That's at ResQGEAR. And SR3 Rescue Concepts is a training company that can help with your helicopter training, a standardization and safety check, or maybe just an audit or an FAA refresher. They are here to bring your agency up to date with the most current techniques, rules, regulations, and equipment. The training staff is awesome. With the certified flight instructor pilots, experienced crew members, which I am happy to say that I am one of them, they offer training in rescue, medical, tactical, firefighting, ground operations, and night vision goggle use. SR3 is also partnered with Petzl to assist with personal protective equipment and the highly specific Lazard. SR3 also goes beyond the helicopter world as they provide high-angle rescue training and tactical medicine training. Contact them today at sr3rescueconcepts.com or over on Instagram at sr3_rescue. In this episode coming up, we don't get to just hear U.S. Coast Guard stories, we also get to hear some Air Force stories. Because this guy started in the U.S. Coast Guard as a rescue swimmer and then transitioned into the Air Force to be a pararescueman. It is awesome. And the couple stories that we have coming up are incredible. I absolutely loved them. So please welcome our next guest, United States Coast Guard rescue swimmer number 533, Mr. Ashton Levrick. My name is Jason Quinn. I am United States Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer number 500. These are my rescues and rescues from those of us that put our lives on the line every day so others may live. This is the Real ResQ Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Real ResQ Podcast. Man, I've got another brother with me. United States Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer number 533, as well as going a step further and going to Air Force Rescue, Mr. Ashton Levrick. What's up, my brother? How are you?
What's up, Jason? Thanks for having me, man.
Dude, I'm freaking stoked to have you on here. Are you kidding me? Like, I know you and I have already talked a little bit, but I know some of the stories that are coming, and I'm like, ooh, getting all excited about it. So, totally pumped.
Thanks.
So, the other part that was kind of cool is like you and I just talked a little bit, and you and I were actually in Kodiak, Alaska for a brief moment together. You as an airman and me as just graduating school, and I don't think they were like, yeah, don't talk to him. Don't tell him what's coming. So,
yeah, I do remember that. I actually remember that, spending mornings at the pool and training with you guys.
Getting our butt kicked. Even after I was through school, I was getting my butt kicked.
Yeah, there were some beasts out there.
Oh, our pool days in Kodiak were just ridiculous. Yeah. Like, I know every unit probably says that, like, oh, our pool's workouts were insane. Yeah. Yeah, I remember like being scared to go to the pool for like 2 years. Like, oh my gosh. So Ashton, if you would be so kind, just kind of introduce yourself to everybody, a little bit of background about you, how you got into Coast Guard, and how you became a rescue swimmer.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ashton Levarek, my name. I graduated high school from Park City, Utah. We moved around a lot as a kid, but I grew up in the ocean for the most part. We just happened to go to school in Utah. But essentially what happened was a buddy came to me and he's like, hey, man, I don't know about this college thing. What do you think about jumping out of helicopters and busting drug dealers? And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. Because I was not going to college.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah. I was big into surfing and snowboarding, rock climbing, mountain, anything I could do outside that had a little adrenaline behind it. So that was very appealing to me. And so I immediately went and checked it out, and I signed up. And my recruiter was actually a rescue swimmer. And so he was able to talk more about it, which, helped out a lot.
Oh,
he
that's
told me
cool.
the whole process, because that's pretty rare that the recruiter knows exactly what you're getting into. So from what I understand.
No.
Yeah.
No, that's very accurate. Oh, I'm going to go in to be a rescue swimmer. They're like, that's really a hard school. And that's about as far as they go with it. Sorry to all my recruiter friends out there. Yeah, no, you guys don't understand. You're not there yet.
Yeah. So, that's kind of how it started. That was the beginning of my military career. And I joined in 1998. Went to boot camp in end of August 1998, and then got stationed out in Kodiak, Alaska. And I did like the basic becoming a seaman for that. We're on the 41 footer out there. Didn't do anything outstanding. We just did support, really. But then I worked at the airfield over in Cordova for about a year. Went into the airman program, and that's where we ran into each other. And that's where I started like my official training for rescue swimmer school. And
John Hall is your mentor. Game on.
That's right.
He was hard then too. Man, I remember watching you guys under him. Oh my God.
Yeah. John Hall and Bob Watson every day. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I was a third class with them, and I was scared of them. No, I freaking love those guys. That's awesome. Well, man. All right. Yeah. So now you bust your butt. You get through school, and then you came. Your first unit. Where'd you go?
First unit was Corpus Christi, and that was a blast. That was my first and only unit as a rescue swimmer, actually. So went down there there was a bunch of people down there, Marty Nelson, Rob Williams, man, Jason Christensen was down there, a bunch of guys. So it was fun. It was a really good place to be. I mean, it was warm weather, really nice spring break. We did a lot of work off the oil platforms out there. And then of course, shrimp season was a really big one. And then we had a lot of illegals coming over the border, as well as drugs coming over the border from South Texas into South Texas. Yeah. So we worked with a lot of that. So it was really fun. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. So while you're there, you get qualified. What was your very first rescue?
Very first rescue. It took a while and I was upset about it. You know, when you get out of school, you want to go, oh, they put me in, coach,
Yeah, right? Totally.
I think it took like probably 8 months maybe before I got anything legit. You know, a lot of flying, a lot of just, flare sightings. And so you go out searching and everything. But I was taking it all in, and yeah. So first rescue, basically a wife called in, her husband was missing, and we went out searching for him. And so after, I don't know, 4 hours of flying or something, we found him. He was beached on one of the intercoastal waterways, and it was nighttime, and he couldn't get his boat out, and he didn't want to. It was really hard to walk because it's all like, if you know the intercoastal waterways down in Corpus Christi, that's, they go forever. And he didn't. I don't think he could have walked anywhere. So, but he was close enough to land. It wasn't like an emergency. He was just an old guy, out fishing. And so they lowered me down, and I walk over. It was like knee deep mud or silt or whatever it was. And like, hey buddy, you all right? And he's like, yeah, I'm good. Take me home. So, but he was like old and couldn't walk through the mud or anything. So I had him, and he didn't want to leave his gun. Fair enough. So he had his shotgun with him. So I'm trying to help him, and then I'm carrying his shotgun over my shoulder, and they caught it all on the news. And so it looks hilarious, like in the spotlight at night, like I'm walking out with this guy slung gun across my shoulder, and then his arm around the back. And so, but that was it. It was super easy.
That's pretty badass, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
they look really cool on the news, but
I like the gun over the shoulder. I really like that. Come on, Wild West, let's do this.
Yeah.
Man,
I was pumped. It was my first rescue, so I was pretty pumped.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And all right, so when you got back to the shop, was everybody like, "Oh, congratulatory," and like everybody's excited for you?
No, nobody's there. Nobody cares.
Oh,
it was a nighttime.
Man.
Yeah. We get back, you have to clean up and wash, and I can't even remember what I did. I don't know if I even called anybody, because it was nighttime. Nobody's at work at that point.
Right. You're like, oh.
Just the alert crew. Yeah.
So you're all excited by yourself.
Yeah. I'm sure I beat my chest when everybody came in the next day.
Yeah.
That's how I was at the time.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. I love it. What a good first case, though. I mean, like, relatively benign, pretty cut and dry. Get in, get the guy out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Right on.
Yeah.
So you also had a couple other, we're going to call them decent cases and or memorable cases out of Corpus Christi too. What else you got?
So a lot of fishing vessels. I thought that, we'd get called out for these shrimpers, and hats off to those guys. They work really hard, but there's some weird stuff that happens out on those boats. Guys go missing and they don't get reported for like 5 hours because the shrimp captain is just very intent about, because it's so competitive, like their money is in how much they make or how much shrimp they catch. Yeah. And so, we get out there and they're like, yeah, he's been missing for 5 hours. Like, why didn't you call us 5 hours ago? And so because the show must go on. There was that, and then there was knife fights, and so picking up guys that got stabbed.
What? Knife fights?
Yeah. Come
on, man.
Yeah. That's a whole different crowd. It's like the biker gangs of the ocean, I think, is like these fishing vessels. Yeah. So Yeah, another one, like guy got hit in the face with a crowbar or something. I'm like, how the hell did this happen? You don't know about it till you get down on the boat and just
Okay, wait, whoa,
it was
whoa, whoa,
disgusting.
whoa, come on. So,
Yeah.
so you get launched out for somebody that got hit in the face or like facial damage or what?
Yeah, broken jaw and teeth missing and stuff. And he wouldn't talk about it. I'm sure there was a crime involved. He would not talk about it. But
Okay,
he just kept
so wait a minute.
throwing up blood and handing it to me.
Oh my God. So you get deployed. So you get hoisted down to the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Evaluate the scene.
Yeah.
I mean, give us a little detail, man. Come on.
Okay, so it was daytime. And I don't find anything about how it happened until we get back into the helo. So I get down there, I'm young. You got to think I was 21 years old, EMT basic at the time.
Yep.
Just amped up on everything natural, just life. And I get down there and there's a guy sitting on one of the nets or something, just holding his face, big old towel around his face. And he's, so I like look at it and he's just, face is busted open. I didn't really see too much into it. His jaw probably was broken. But I put him in the basket. We hoist him up. I wrap his face, hoist him up. And we get back in the helicopter and he's like, keeps throwing up blood.
Yeah.
And handing it to me in back in the gauze that I, wrapped his face in. And so it was hot and humid in the back of the helo. So it smelled terrible. And he smelled like shrimp. And but come to find out, he had been hit in the face with something heavy. And so we take him to the hospital, and that's the last time you see him. But I know, you don't think about that stuff going into it. Like, is this a hostile environment?
Yeah, right.
Am I safe going down?
Yeah. Like, where's the dude?
I didn't care.
Dude?
Yeah, I didn't care. I was 21 and full of, testosterone and chest thumping. So I didn't give a I don't know if I could cuss on here, but
you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. I mean, so that one was fun. Yeah. I mean, it's a different crowd. You're just dealing with different people out there.
Wow. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, it was funny.
Dang, man.
It was a good time.
All right. So you had to deal with and again, you and I talked about that. I don't know the story, but you had to deal with a helicopter crash down there too.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So they use helicopters to get back and forth from the land to the oil rigs out there. So they have a ton of oil rigs off the coast of Texas, right? So they use these little Bell optic helicopters to hop from oil rig to oil rig and then back to the mainland. And one of them went down at some point, and we got the call. And actually, I was on the crew, the relieving crew. So the crew ahead of me went out searching. They were out searching for probably 8+ hours, I assume, because they ran out of fuel, came back. And we used to go refuel on these oil rigs. So we would do the same thing. We just, to keep the search pattern going and without having to come back to station. So I think I relieved them, and we went out and searched, and we actually ended up finding, never found the helicopter, but found 3 patients. And there was 5 people. So 2 people went down with the helicopter, unfortunately.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So they hoisted me down. Beautiful day. It was just super easy. It was just hoisting me down. I'm like, hey, how are you guys doing? They couldn't talk. So the water temperature was probably around 70 degrees.
Okay.
Or maybe a little bit less. So it was cool. And they were all hypothermic. All 3 of them were hypothermic, and they were spread out. So they weren't all together. And by hypothermic, I mean, like, these guys could barely talk, like could not talk.
Wow.
So I had to do everything for them. Looking back, ignorantly, we only had wool blankets to give them when they got in the helicopter, and they could barely move. So yeah, but that one was interesting because, you forget sometimes, like, you think you're going to see a crash real easy. You'll see the survivors. You don't. It's really hard to see a survivor's head in even nice, calm weather.
Oh yeah.
And so it probably took like 10 hours of searching to find those guys. Not me personally, but total, with the crew ahead of me. And Yeah. So that one is funny because I was going through the paramedic program at the local college at the time.
Okay.
And we pulled up. We landed at the hospital to drop these guys off, and these guys were so cold, and we only had these old school like U.S. Army. I don't know why we carried those, honestly, but that's all we had. No rewarming packs, nothing like that. Yeah. And these guys are face down on the stretcher going into the hospital with me, walking them in with a couple nurses, and my whole paramedic class was just like, making fun of me for that when they saw that on the news, because like that's bad patient care, honestly.
Yeah.
But I was young, and you learn a lot.
I was just gonna say that, like, we all started somewhere. Now, this is what's interesting, and I don't think there's a lot of talk about this in particular. Part of it, as far as U.S. Coast Guard goes, is we're all EMT basics. Number one, most people know that. Mm-hmm. EMT basic is you can throw some O2 on there, you can give them activated charcoal, you can give them some sugar, that's about it. Other than that, your wound care, stabilization. But when you talk about that, the other side of it is when you get done with your EMT school, you get put on the helicopter. There's not like a mentor that you're going out with. Like most of the ambulances and stuff and other areas that you go to, you have somebody with you to make sure that your medicine is up to date. No, not so much with us. We just, you graduated, you passed? Yeah, go. And you're kind of learning on the fly. So, like now thinking about that, like what you just talked about, if they had, and I don't remember if there's a warm heat packs in there, but heat packs underneath the arms, in between the groin, whatever you can do, crank the heat up in the aircraft, maybe a hypothermia bag if there's something there, you can drop them in. Gosh.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what their core temperature was, but they were in the water a long time. Probably, what? Now I'm trying to think about it. I think it was 6 hours. It was 6 hours. I think they were in the water. So anything, if the body temperature drops more than, I think it's like 5 degrees, you're starting to, or more than 1 degree. If the core temperature of the body drops more than 1 degree, your body is already starting to go into hypothermia. So now it's not extreme, like you just start shivering at that point, but 70-degree water, we think, oh, that's great. That's perfect water. I want to go swimming in 70 degree. But if you're sitting in it for 5 hours, right?
You are cold.
Yeah. So those guys were probably, close to shutting down, honestly. They couldn't move. They couldn't talk. Wow. But I'm just like, I rescued him.
Yeah, buddy. Come on. Did you get all the guys? Like, all right, you said they were spread out. So deploy, get guy number one, bring him up to the aircraft. Did you go back up to the aircraft or just keep swimming over to the next guy?
No, they were spread out by probably, maybe a quarter mile each. So,
oh, wow.
So it'd pick me up and then go down and get the next one, fly over, get the next one.
Basket pickup, or did you do it? Were you doing like quick drop, hypothermic lift?
Basket. Yeah. Cool. Basket for that one. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. That was, just textbook in and out, picking them up, but they deployed, jumped out and basket pickup. But you don't realize how close those guys, they were pretty close to maybe another hour. I don't know how long that would have lasted, but
wow, that's crazy to think about, that's one of the other moves, again, we talk about different techniques and stuff, but the Coast Guard did the hypothermic lift, the double lift with the quick strap and then the regular strap. The regular strap goes around your chest and the quick strap went underneath your knees to keep you in that, like, call it the Z position or like the seated position, kind of like a lazy boy. It was to prevent the hypothermic cold in the blood in the legs to basically shock the heart on your pickup. So yeah, good idea. Deer in the basket, put them in the basket.
I didn't even think about it.
That's freaking hilarious. That's awesome. Again, I mean, whatever. You got them out of the water. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. the two, it was funny to find out later though, like it was a controlled crash. They knew they were crashing and they weren't going to make it to the next oil rig. Yeah. So they, I guess they came down to close to the ocean and guys started bailing out as they were doing. And that's why they were spread out. But then the pilot, the two pilots were the last two, and they ended up, they never were found as far as I know.
Oh, it's terrible. It's too bad.
Or actually, I think one was found. One of them was found. And it's not cool. It was always interesting to me. Whenever we found bodies in the ocean, they were always naked.
Oh.
And I think like the water, yes, I don't know. I don't know where your experience, but anytime a body had been floating out in the ocean for a long time, like all their clothes come off. Like some, the sea people are taking them. I don't know, but
I don't have too many.
Darren Smith found the other one.
Oh, really? Oh, nice.
Yeah. I don't know if you knew him, but
I did not. But we'll need to get him on here so I can hear his stories too. So you tell me about picking up dead naked people.
Yeah, he picked up the deceased naked ones.
Oh.
Well, one of them. The other one, I don't think was ever found. But yeah.
Dang, that's crazy. Wow.
It's a good time.
Well done. Well done. All right. So then you had another one that you and I kind of talked about offline, and that was you had to deal with spring breakers quite a bit.
Oh yeah. That one was fun. Yeah. So every year, spring break, Corpus Christi just goes off the chain. Like all these kids come down from College Station, from Houston, and everywhere, and they come and they live on the beach. They party on the beach because you can drive on the beach and camp and drink. And so I was moonlighting as a lifeguard also down at the beach because we would do tropical hours. So I had after we would work from, I think it was like 7 a.m. till 1 p.m, and then we'd be off. And so I'd go work at the beach too as a lifeguard. But one night, I think it was like a weekend night, we got called down. I was on duty with the Coast Guard, got called down to the beach. There's some people missing. So the cops had showed up and broke up a party probably. And probably what happened was there was a bunch of underage people. Well, 2 people went into the ocean and never came out. So they called the Coast Guard. So we flew out and we found them pretty quick, because obviously the cops are just using the headlights and flashlights to look out in the ocean. But we found them with the spotlight pretty quick. And just 2 heads in the water. And if you've ever been down to Corpus Christi, there's sandbars. So it's like you walk out, it gets deep, then you swim out a little bit more and there's a sandbar and you can stand, and then there's a couple of those and you can keep going out. And they were out at like the 2nd or 3rd sandbar. And so, me being put me in, so I'm like on the radio, like I'm ready to go in. Like I was in the door, and the pilot, she was like, no, they look like they're fine. Let's just hold off. And so we held off for a minute, and I'm like, what the heck are we doing? Let's go. And these 2 girls I didn't know they were girls, actually. These 2 people start moving back into the shore because they're like, oh, well, the gig's up. I think we're busted. And once they start getting to where it's actually shallow, instead of standing up, they're just crawling on their hands and knees. And this transpired over like 45 minutes of this. And then one of them stands up, and I was like, man, one of them looks like they got a white shirt on with a belt buckle on their back. They were butt naked. And it was a tattoo on her back, and one of them just was like, it's over, and she just gets up and runs to the cop car and gets in the back, and then the other one stays on her hands and knees and crawls all the way in. But it was pretty funny. I was like, oh man, that would have been an epic story. Like why didn't we pick him up?
Thanks a lot, ma'am. Sorry.
Yeah. But that was fun. Yeah.
Oh, that's
hilarious.
I
mean, you see all sorts of fun stuff.
That's hilarious.
Good time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you had some fun in Corpus
I gave her
Christi.
a lot of crap.
I would have as well. It's, what, we could have had the whole thing done in 5 minutes, maybe 10.
Yeah.
I probably would have taken a little more time. Sorry to all my, never mind.
Yeah.
No, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Hey, we were all young at one point, and we started out.
Mm-hmm.
Go get her. That's awesome. All right. So now let's transition a little bit. And you decided like, okay, I want to up my game. I want to go to like another level of SAR. And how did that happen with the going into the Air Force and pararescue?
So 2001, everybody's tracking. Twin Towers happened. I was on duty at the time. They're like, hey, some plane just ran into the Twin Towers. And I remember coming into watching. Everybody watched it probably on the news. If they didn't watch it live, they watched it later. But we were watching it live. I saw the second plane hit, and somebody said on there that we're going to war. And I remember thinking like, well, then if that's the case, I'm doing that. I'm going to go to war, because for me, it was always about doing the most amazing thing I could think of. So whatever it was, if it was jumping out of a tree, if it was jumping out of helicopters, I always wanted to be challenged. So I always sought the next biggest challenge. I was going to paramedic school. I was going I don't know. That's just how I've always been. So that happened, but I still had about 3 years on my enlistment. So I started really looking into what I wanted to do. So it was good and bad in the sense that I was itching to go. Like I wanted to get out, go to war, go be challenged, go do that stuff. But it also helped me really evaluate, well, what do I want out of the military? Right. So, because there's a lot of great military units, and, where do I think I'll excel, and where do I want to be? And so after a lot of research, I started looking at pararescue for the Air Force. Naturally you'd think that's a good transition from rescue swimmer. But I looked at all of them. I looked Rangers, SFs, Special Forces, SEALs, Marine Recon. I looked at all that stuff. And it was up in the air between the SEALs and pararescue. But what I found out with pararescue is you get to do it all. You get to, as a PJ, you'll get to deploy with all the special operations teams as a combat medic for them. And so
that's pretty awesome.
That made sense to me. And you get fast track. You get, so it's a 2-year pipeline, meaning 2 years in training, but you do all the schools. So for example, like Special Forces, they do I'm probably going to get it wrong, but they do a bunch of their schools, but they don't get jump like Halo or dive school. We all, like as PJs, we get that right off the bat. So, and then SEALs, I was going to go SEAL, and then it was like, you'd have to spend they used to do the same thing we did in the Coast Guard, where you do 2 year or a certain amount of time before you go to your A school. So before I would go to BUDS, I'd have to go do like 2 years on a ship. And I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. So, which I would agree with as well. You've already done X amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah. The Air Force was basically like, yep. Once you get out of the Coast Guard, you can come straight over, and you won't go to basic training. You'll just go straight to, they call it indoctrination back in the day.
Yep.
A pararescue indoctrination in San Antonio, Texas. And so, but it was interesting. It was a weird time. So I got out in 2004, and they weren't taking any prior service in the Air Force. So this isn't something we talked about. I sold all my stuff, and I took a backpack, my snowboard and surfboard, and just traveled for about 1.5 years.
Oh, yes. Sir, do you have any luggage to check onto the plane? Yes, I have the surfboard and a snowboard. Sir, it's oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sick.
I did a lot of cool stuff there too, but not related to the military, obviously.
Well, we might have to circle back to that, because that's pretty awesome. Just 1 year traveling, surfing and snowboarding. Sick.
Yep.
My wife would tell me no right now. No, Jason, no.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. All right. So now let's keep going, because once you get through Indoc, then you end up give me a rundown I don't know exactly how that happens. So you get through Indoc.
Yeah.
You're qualified PJ. Then what?
So Indoc's about 2 months, or was, started with somewhere around like 60 or 80 guys, graduated, I think, 9 of the original class, maybe 12 with some of the setbacks. And then you go to that's at Lackland Air Force Base. Then you go over to Kirtland Air Force Base, which is New Mexico. And from there, you're doing combat dive school down in Florida. You're doing airborne, which is in Alabama or Georgia. I can't remember. In Georgia, I think it is. And then you do Halo in Southern Arizona, SEER School in Washington State, paramedic school, which is local. And then you'll do your ride-alongs and you have to do time at a hospital and on a fire engine. And so I did that down in where did I do that? Out Southern Arizona as well. Nice. And then you do a 6-month like train up, and where you put it all together and you do they call them full mission profiles, start to finish. So for PJ, you're doing everything from combat stuff to extrication to high angle stuff, parachuting in to rescuing people. You do a whole gamut. So it was a blast. It was right up my alley. I loved it.
God, that's cool. I dig that.
Well. Yeah, I got to keep E5, so I was in charge. Oh, great! Here's a great story though. While in Indoc, I was an E5, so they thought I was transferring over from some other job to come and be a PJ, and they expected me to lead all these guys that are right out of basic training that are in Indoc at that point. And so at one point we're treading water, and you imagine. In Indoc, like I said, it was like 60 people at one point. I don't know, 60 plus people at one point. and that's in the beginning. So we're all treading. They would have you line up in the pool in rows. So I think it was like rows of 5 or something. And you're all treading water. And at one point, they're like, Staff Sergeant, which is what an E5 is in the Air Force. And they're like, sing the Air Force song. And I'd been in the Air Force like 3 weeks. I was like, I don't know the Air Force song. And that's when they found out I was a prior rescue swimmer. Yeah. I was like, I don't know. I started to sing it. And I was hoping everybody else would I knew the first phrase. That was it. And that's when I thought, I was hoping everybody else would chime in. Nobody chimed in, but the instructors freaked out. Like, what the fuck are you how long have you been in the Air Force? And I'm like, 3 weeks. And that's when I stopped. And this is actually a good story. I forgot about this. So they started yelling at me, and they find out I was a rescue swimmer for the Coast Guard. And at that moment, at that month was when Ashton Kutcher's movie came out, The Guardian.
The Guardian.
So naturally, they had all seen it, and so they start reenacting that stuff, making me carry all the pool furniture. Like I'm treading water with it over my head. They thought it was hilarious. They were calling me Ashton all the way up until graduation. And at one point, and I thought they knew that was my name. And at one point, one of the instructors is handing me my graduation certificate. And he's like, your name's really Ashton? And I was like, yeah. And they were calling me Ashton because of Ashton Kutcher, obviously,
Oh my gosh, I love it. That's hilarious.
So that was pretty funny. But yeah, that's all in the training side of it. So graduated in 2008 and got stationed in Okinawa, Japan right after that.
Oh, sweet. So, very cool.
Yeah, I did 3 years out in Okinawa. That was beautiful. You ever get a chance, it's like the Hawaii of Japan. Beautiful area. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Wait, your name's really Ashton?
Yeah.
Joke's on you.
Yeah. They would walk in and just, Ashton, drop, and drop just means start doing push-ups, Yep. So I'm like, fuck, so, they love me.
Oh, that's great. I love it. Thank you for everybody that made the movie The Guardian. That's hilarious.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, you ruined my life. No, at least for like 2 months.
That's funny. All right, so you also did a deployment with the pararescue guys, and you have kind of a gnarly rescue, going into some stuff. So
yeah, I got 10 combat deployments, 10 plus.
10 deployments total. Wow. How long were your deployments?
10. I was with, so we did 4 months. So it came out to about 5 months with travel, maybe. But 4 months on the ground deployments.
Wow.
Because I was always with special operations teams, and their deployment cycles are a little shorter.
Gotcha.
It's better for psych recovery and
Yes.
Yeah, we were lucky. Trust me, like some of those Marine and Army units were doing a year plus at the beginning of the war.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah. So
right on. All right. So I know there's some things you can talk about and there's some things you can't, but I'll take whatever you've got, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about I'll talk about most of it. So 2010 was my first combat deployment. First combat deployment, because how it works is you get to your unit, you got to get fully qualified, obviously. So I got to my unit in 2008, but we were only deploying one person at a time out of Okinawa at that time. And so I got, you do a lot of stuff. We were doing a lot of training with other countries and stuff like that before I deployed. I deployed as a combat search and rescue team. This is the only time I've done combat search and rescue, believe it or not. I've always been attached to other SOF teams, special operation forces teams. So 2010, Balad, Iraq, Operation Iraqi Freedom. We were hunting, the top tier of what was it of Saddam Hussein's. All his people. So I think one night we were going after, I use that loosely because we were supporting, I wasn't part of the direct action force on this one. We were the combat search and rescue team. So we would fly in a helicopter as kind of a chase bird, or we forward stage somewhere. And we were going after number 3. So number 3 in command. I don't know if you remember this, but they did a deck of cards of all the, this is bringing back a lot of memories. So there was a deck of cards of all the bad guys in power under Saddam Hussein. Saddam would have been like at the top, right? Yeah. And I think we had already found Saddam. We had found Saddam in 2009 and prosecuted him and everything. But now there were still people out there on the run, part of insurgency and everything. And so we fly out to go after number 3. He was number 3 in the country at the time. And there was 4 helicopters full of 4 assault birds, and then 1 combat search and rescue bird. Plenty of ISR. ISR is just unmanned or manned aerial vehicles that watch the whole thing and report back, and they look for, for bad guys and all that stuff. But anyway, on infiltration, the 4 birds are doing what's called a phased infill, so one after another. And they do it really quick. They land, everybody gets off, takes a knee, and then they take off. And then those guys run off. But what happens out in the desert is they call it a brownout. Oh yeah. And so this is with the 160th, which is everybody knows them from probably the Black Hawk Down movie. That's the 160th. That's the elite of the helicopter pilots and crew. These guys are really good pilots. But there were 4 Blackhawks, which is a 60, an HH-60, and Coast Guard has them too. Really great bird, really powerful. But they were coming down. I think the last bird was full of Rangers, and the last 2 birds, it started getting really brown out. So a lot of dust is getting kicked up, and so the pilots can't see. They lose spatial awareness. And I think the last bird, what happened, you see it on the video, it comes in and just didn't know where the ground was and went too far too fast and just hit, bounced. And so guys are already unbuckled, and I use unbuckle loosely. They were ready. We used to have, you have we call it a cow's tail. You have like a piece of webbing with 2 carabiners, and one goes to your belt, which is usually like some type of rigger's belt or something. And then one goes to the floor of the helicopter. So they had like 20 Rangers in the back, maybe not 20, but they had quite a few Rangers in the back, and they're all either have already taken theirs off, or they're in the process of taking their cow's tail off, unhooking. Yep. And so when that thing hit, it rolled, I think once or twice. And they were really lucky, honestly, because it rolled and only one guy got crushed. And he ended up dying, but the rest were minor injuries, which was crazy. So we got the call. We were trail birds, so we're staying in the sky, birding holes in the sky, just circling. And they call us in, and I remember my team leader, he hits me really hard on the shoulder. He's like, "Do you hear that?" And of course, your adrenaline just goes through the roof, because at that point the gunfire is going off. There's a bunch of fighting on the ground. And we can see it. You can see it all because it's nighttime. You're on night vision, and you can see all the flashes, and you're already like, "Holy crap, this is awesome."
I love what you just said right there. Oh my God, this is awesome. I'm right there with you.
No, I mean, that's
like, oh my Lord, bullets flying. Okay.
Yeah. So you see the laser, I call it a laser light show. Every operator has a laser on their gun, as well as all the lasers coming from the sky, from the ISR birds that are pointing out bad guys. So when you watch these battles, it looks like something it's insane. So, and then, fast forward several years and I'm on the ground doing the same thing. But anyway, they call us in, he hits me and my adrenaline goes through the roof, and I'm just like putting on my med ruck. And we used to carry, it would have been team leader, 2 PJs, and a combat controller, and then a small ranger team. And so the small ranger team is for security, the 2 PJs, and then the team leader's managing the CCP and the crash site. And then the 2 PJs, so me and the other PJ, we are less experienced, but we'll be managing all the patients and the extrication if there's extrication. So we carry jaws of life on our back, a sawzall, we carry a heavy lift kit with a bunch of ropes and pulleys and stuff. So if we have to stabilize or pull somebody off the side of a mountain or something like that.
Wow.
And then as well as two full med rucks. So we have that all on our back, and I'm starting to get that on. And if you've ever been in the back of the helicopter trying to put on like a 100-pound ruck or whatever it was, 60-pound maybe, I don't know, ruck, it's a mess. And so there's 4 of us back there bumping around doing that. And we land, and naturally, like, you think this is an emergency, so I go to run to the helicopter crash. And again, like, you hear the gunfire, everything's going, you're just amped up. And my team leader I remember like it was yesterday, he just slams his hand in front of my chest as I'm about to start running. And he's like, "Take it easy. Let's walk to the scene and size it all up. Don't run to your death." So
wow,
the first thing in combat search and rescue.
What a good piece of advice right there. Wow.
Yeah. He's awesome. He's a really good dude. I learned a lot on that deployment, and that was kind of the, one of those guys you learn a lot and take away. And like, that's how I want to run everything I do, just with that calm, collected mentality. And so he's just walking. It looks like he's just strolling he's just kicking up dust, like walking, taking it all in. There's the gunfire. Everything's going off over to the left of us. He's just like, he's been doing this for a while. He's just chilling, And the Rangers were the same way. They were you got to understand, Rangers are young. I could tell a ton of stories about Rangers. They're something else, but good people, but they're young. Like, you think I was 30 years old, a lot of experience, a lot of even more training, probably more training than I knew what to do with. And these Rangers, like, they don't even go to Ranger school before they deploy, some of them, so when it comes to tactics and like maturity level, they're still pretty young. Like, their fire team leader for the Rangers is only 21. So wow. Yeah. So they're doing the same thing, and he's telling them the same thing. He's like, "Hey, chill. You guys take the left side, you guys take the right side." We're walking up, and we walked right up, and it was one of the pilots is out, and he walks up and he's like, "Hey, how you guys doing, sir?" It's just like super chill. Like, it was fucking awesome. I'm like, but that's it, right? Like, that's the tone you want. You want that mentality where, because you're so calm, everybody else gets calm with too, right? And so that was it. There was one person that was deceased, and then everything else was like a broken arm, some head injury, like I think some scrapes and bruises, the broken leg. One of the other helicopters had landed, because as they phased in, the first helicopter that took off came back and picked up the guy with the broken leg right away. That's how good the 160th is. They're just really quick. They're like, oh, bird went down, turned around, landed, and picked up whoever they could pick up right away. And so they picked up a couple of the Rangers that could still walk and everything, and then one of the guys who had the broken leg. And so, yeah, 160 is awesome. I'll say that all day. They're some of the best pilots in the world, best crew members. But yeah, so walk up and just started. My team leader's like, all right, Ashton, you go assess the crash scene. And then the other PJ, he had him working the first patient. And so I was making sure we had, so the biggest thing in a combat search and rescue is, the first thing is security. And so he sends the Rangers out at like north, south, east, west, and they're setting up security. And then for me, it was accountability. We need to make sure we have everybody we're supposed to have. So he's on the horn, making sure he knows how many people got picked up and left off, and how many people should there actually be. So are we looking for bodies? Are we looking for people that are out in the desert? Because it rolled several 100 yards maybe. And so that's me. I'm doing the cordon, walking in concentric circles, looking for people, and then debris, and pacing out how far the furthest debris was. We get head count, start treating patients, like everything from broken finger to broken leg to a deceased guy. So
wow,
it was a huge eye opener for me. It was a good first rescue. It was great having him as a team leader on the ground. He was really calm, learned a lot, and successful mission. So they didn't find the guy they were looking for that night, but they did find somebody who claimed to be his wife. And we talked about this earlier. So we went back in the morning. So they took this lady off target, and she was claiming to be the guy's wife, number three's wife, and took her back, and they started interrogating her. Or no, they didn't take her back. She was on target, I think. And she was claiming to be the wife. And they essentially were like, no, this isn't her, because it didn't look right on the picture. And fast forward, 6 hours till the morning, because they hit several targets looking for this guy.
Okay.
And these are like hard and fast. Hit the target, run through, clear the target, get everybody under control. Nope, our guy's not here, and go to the next one. And so get back on the helos and go to the next one. So that it was really fast. But come early morning, and it was like 6 a.m, somebody was like, I think that was his wife. And so they go back to that first place where the helicopter crash was and everything.
Yep.
And they go back and like, hey, you are who you say you are. Where are you saying he's at? And basically she's like, yeah, he's down here underneath the toilet. And so they get in a gunfight with him and start dropping grenades down there, and he ends up clacking himself off. He had a S-vest, a suicide vest on. But yeah, so
yeah, but all right.
Yeah,
so
that's where
do you know why she ratted him out, or what?
Yeah. Well, she didn't like that I think he was sleeping around or something. So and that was the story. Yeah. So yeah. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. So it was a long night. It was a long night, but it was good. A lot of good stuff.
Wow. Dang, man. That is gnarly.
Yeah. It was fun. And I still had, 3 months left on that deployment.
Oh, that was like the start. Jeez, oh man.
Yeah.
Ashton, that's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah. Good day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was my first deployment. I got 2 air medals out of that one. We flew every night. There were missions every night. It was just, as I call it, a target-rich environment. So we were chasing Saddam's regime the whole time I was there, and then we switched out and it continued. So then I went back to Okinawa, Japan, and I'll kind of fast forward the rest of my career, I guess, and you tell me what else you want to talk about. But so Okinawa, Japan, finished 3 years there. I was deployed to the Philippines. That was actually a combat deployment, although we just lived in hotels and trained up the Filipino anti-terrorism teams, and they would go out and fight and then come back and shoot with us. So it was cool. So I was the medic for this, what they called back then a SIF team, Commanders in Extremis Force, which is great. I learned a lot of CQB, a lot of combat training for like housing, moving through buildings, houses, which pararescue doesn't do necessarily.
Right.
And then because of that, I went on to a higher unit, the 24th STS in the Air Force, which is, we do a lot more of that stuff. So I went on to the 24th. I moved from Okinawa, I don't know, 2011 or something. And then I was there for the rest of my career at the 24th STS. And there I was deployed with SEAL teams and then other special operations teams, more in a direct action sense. So I wasn't ever doing combat search and rescue. I was always the combat medic on the ground. So we had to be trained to. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you were inserted into the other special forces teams to go out on deployment or to whatever the target is. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Dang, so, man. Good for you.
Did a couple hostage rescues, did a ton of deployments. Like I said, 10 combat deployments.
Wow.
It's really fast paced. It's a good, it was good for me because like I said, I've always been an adrenaline junkie. I think I did my personality test one time. It's like, you're a risk taker.
Okay. Oh yeah. That's me too. Oh.
Yeah. So it was great, but it's hard on family life.
Totally is.
So, so I was gone probably about 250 days a year between deployments and then training. And
wow. Yeah. That's a long time to be gone.
Yeah. So 2000, May of 2000, I retired. And honestly, if the war was still going on, I probably would have stayed. My wife was over it, but yeah.
Yeah, but when you're having a good time, you're not really working. It's more fun than anything else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ashton, that is awesome. Well done, sir. Well done.
Man. Show's not over,
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
What else can we do? What else can we do?
Well, man, the stories have been just insane. I love all this stuff. It's crazy how much I love this stuff. It's, I live vicariously through everybody and all their stories. So thank you for sharing all those freaking awesome things.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the same way. I think a lot of people are. I'm a huge fan of, you ever heard of Counting Coup?
No. What is that?
Yeah. This is cool. So we formed a team at my old unit. We were able to do a lot of innovative new stuff. And so we had to come up with, you want to brand that team so everybody has allegiance to it and really buy in. And so one of the things that I did was build the flag for it, build the t-shirts and all that stuff, as well as who we are and what we stand for. And so me and another guy were really into it. But Counting Coup is the Indians, American Indians, when they would go into battle. If you can think of Last of the Mohicans, there's that scene when they get ambushed. There's a long line of whatever they were, American settlers or whatever, after leaving some big battle, and they get ambushed by the Indians.
Yeah. And
the Indians would run up and they want to get first strike. You want to do amazing heroic acts, and then you get to put a notch in your stick. You have a coup stick. And that notch, so a coup in French is cuts. So it's you're counting the cuts.
Okay.
And those are all the feats that you did in battle, all the heroic things you did in your life. And so you'd sit around the fire and count coup. And that's what we used to talk about. And that is essentially what, men that have done things in the military they do. They're counting coup. And I think there's a lot of psychological benefit to it, just being able to deal with that, being able to talk with other people about it.
I totally agree.
Yeah. So that's Counting Coup is that's what it is.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, if you look it up, you can see the history of it from the American Indians till now. But my buddy branded it, and he now runs a tactical advising he's on Instagram, and he's always doing videos about different tactical stuff. So Counting Coup.
Okay.
Counting Coup Tactics is what his company's called. So
I like it.
Good dude. Yeah.
Counting Coup. That's why I like listening to you. You're telling all your crew right
no,
now.
I mean, yeah. Yep, that's what it's all
cool.
about. Yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, I'm going to bring the floor over to you as far as anything else you want to talk about, clarity, commitment, taking action to achieve anything.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
We've talked a little bit about it, but advice that you would pass on to everybody else, man. Like, you've been through a lot of years of experience, 2 different services, lots of training. And then I do want to touch on what you're doing right now, because I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So I think, at some point I would like to write a book. There it is. It's open, out in the open. So
come on.
Yeah. But I would like to write a book, because I think one of the things that's not wrong or missing, a lot of people are lost right now. They don't know what they want out of life. And so they bounce from job to job, or they feel unfulfilled in some level. And I think a lot of that comes with what you just said. So being clear about what you want, committing to it, and taking action. And it's so simple. And yet, because of today's society where we give trophies out for losers, and it's okay to quit jobs.
Way to be blunt. You're accurate, but way to be blunt.
Yeah.
You know what? About time somebody said it. Giving trophies to losers. What did Ashton Kutcher say? You know what the number 2 is? To let the guy behind me know what place he's in.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is, though. Like, number 2 didn't want it. He didn't want it. He didn't know what he wanted. If he did know what he wanted, he wasn't committed to it. Right. And then taking action every day. And so, you have all these people with that victim mentality these days, that everything is everybody else's fault. Like, my situation is not my fault. But I challenge you to say, take accountability of it. Like, what do you actually want out of life? Do you want to jump out of helicopters and bust drug dealers? Do you want to live an amazing life? Do you want to make a ton of money? Do you want to have a good relationship with your wife? Do you want healthy kids? What the fuck do you want? Right. And so, shit, like, because people complain about it, like, oh, my kids, my wife, my this, my life, I'm overweight. I can't do it because I can't run. I can't do it because, whatever race, gender, whatever is popular to say, whatever excuse, like, fuck all that, man. Like, what the fuck do you want? So that's just, that's kind of the mentality I've taken. And then the systematic, it's cool, because when you get really clear about what you want, then you know what the next step is,
Right.
So
Agreed.
if you want to make a couple $1 million in the next couple of years, instead of saying, this isn't possible, or instead of like, I want to go be special operations, or I want to deploy and do these amazing things, or I want to make $1 million, or I want to have a beautiful wife with an amazing family. Like, once you get really clear about the end goal, you know what the next step is. So for me, I remember I got to INDOC and I was a little bit more experienced. But I've always been like this. Like, when I have a goal, I used to journal a lot. I still do a little bit, but with my goals, and I would journal my goals. And so when I got to INDOC, I knew exactly so INDOC, you have to pass a PT test every week on Monday of the week, or you did. I don't know. Things probably changed now, and I knew you have to do so many push-ups, run so far, so many pull-ups, swim and sit-ups, and, but every week it gets more running, more swimming, and the times, you'll have a set amount of time. So like, maybe week 1, it was like 50 push-ups, but week 2 is, 60, and it keeps going up. Same with the swim and the run time. So it's like 1.5 miles the first week, and then 2 miles the next week. And by the end, you're running 6 miles and swimming 4,000 meters and 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, and 15 or 20 pull-ups or something like that. So I got really clear. Like, I wrote down, I want to graduate from INDOC in 8 weeks, because a lot of people get set back. Right. And this is just life. This is just how life is. People get set back. And my biggest takeaway from that was, in war and in INDOC, in places like that, in rescue swimmer school, things happen really quickly, because because you realize how committed you are very quickly. How committed am I to this goal? When you go to college for 4 years, it can be tough. Like, how committed are you to graduating with this degree? It could change several times. You could go get a job. You could leave college, come back. Like, it's very slow to develop. But in war, in like in-doc, in rescue situations, in emergency situations, that you find out very quickly how committed you are. So you may be clear about where you want to end up, but you're not actually truly committed. And I approach that committed side with that mentality with, when you talk about commitment, people, when you say I'm afraid of failing, that's not commitment. And I would challenge you to think like this. Like when you go to the store, your wife says, hey, go get a gallon of milk. There's not a strand in your body, mind, or soul that thinks that I may not do this. This may not work. And that, because you are so committed, you don't even think you can't figure it out. Like you don't even like, oh, well, what if the store's not open? What, like, you know it to the very core of your being that you will be able to do it. That is commitment. It's so simple. That is commitment. You want to have beautiful, healthy kids. You want to be an amazing relationship with your wife. That is commitment. And that's usually what people think about is commitment to your marriage, but there's more to it. It's commitment to your goals. What do you want? Like everything we do in life is because we think it'll make us happy. So when you commit to your happiness, that's what it's about. And then it's really easy to take action. And that's where people at some level in their life, that's where a lot of people are missing. They're missing the clarity or the commitment, or usually when there's commitment, you take action easily, but a lot of people do get stuck in taking action. So, but I would say that's probably because they're not truly committed or clear about their goal. So I don't know. That's kind of my life in a nutshell. That's what I figured out.
Ashton, that's deep, man. That's deep. I enjoyed that.
Well, yeah. I'm a deep thinker.
Well, it's great advice too. I mean, like you were probably there. You were there because you saw, I don't know if you saw it in rescue swimmer school, but I know you saw it in doc with pararescues, but I watched a kid not committed and he was not there. We got night pool, and night pool is not, well, in the grand scheme of things, night pool is not that big of a deal. Sorry. Night pool is easier than the other days in the other training aspects. And I watched a kid just be like, nope, get out of the pool, walk back in the locker room. Be like, where are you going? He's like, nah, this isn't for me. I'm like, oh, snap, you just quit. He was not committed though. Yeah. You know what? There's an interesting, when you think about it too, it's interesting when the fastest way to figure out what you truly want about in life is to do as much as you can, because that's when you figure out if you like it or not. Right. Yeah. It's just like when you go to the restaurant, if you can try everything, then you know what you truly want to eat. But so, like he figured it out. He's like, I don't want to do this. Right. But so, there's a lot to be said. I mean, David Goggins, you ever read his stuff? Oh yeah. Love David Goggins' book. That's awesome. Can't hurt me. That his mentality is another level too. Like what he strives for in his drive to get to push the mind beyond what the body can handle is if nobody's listened to that book or read that book, highly recommend it. Yeah. Shout out to David Goggins. So well done. Yeah. Shout out to him. And I'm not talking trash. This is in his story, but he, but that's part of his thing, right? Yeah. He realized I don't want to be fat and lazy. Right. Yep. And so he actually joined pararescue, didn't make it, went back, and then later became a SEAL. So like that is part of the process. So sometimes you do have to try things out to figure out what you really want out of life and don't want out of life. But when you understand that process, it doesn't become so bad. Like, right. A lot of people look at failure as like, and I said it earlier, like we give trophies away for failure, but at the same time, like you're breeding this nonchalant way of life. And like, that's why there's so much unhappiness. That's why, people are unhappy with their job, with their family life, because it doesn't matter. Right. Right. They're not, there's no satisfaction in playing. There's no satisfaction in that. Well, and actually to bring it back to David Goggins specifically, and I don't want to give away the whole book, but in pararescue, he actually talks about it in the book where he quit. He had an excuse. Somebody else gave him an excuse and he took it and he quit. And there's a difference between like, I can't do it versus like, no, I'm going to use their reasoning to quit, and only you're the one that knows the difference,
you want to talk. Yeah. I love that. Because I was a staff sergeant, we also had we had three friggin' lieutenant and then like two colonels or three colonels that tried out too. But I think, or captain, I can't remember. Anyway, we had a bunch of officers, but they were like, anybody that wants to quit, you got to come talk to Ashton and he's going to try. I don't know why they wanted me to talk people out of quitting.
Come on, Hollywood.
So at night, every night there would be a line outside my door of guys that are coming to talk to me. So I got to hear all these reasons that people are thinking about quitting. And the interesting thing is, like I said, everything accelerates in these environments, in war and emergency situations and in selections like this. And people get to realize really quickly. Anyway, so people would line up on my side and all these excuses would come out. But I started to realize that these excuses didn't happen yesterday or the day before, or when we were in the pool or running or whatever. These excuses started long before, like guys would come in and like, my girlfriend doesn't think she can take me being away this long. And I'm like, what are you talking? Like, okay, then quit, get the fuck out of here. I'm cutting into my rest time, And so like, I'd have to talk to all these kids. And it was like, the other thing I think is really interesting too, is when you have that mentality, so you'll have this, there are guys that'll be like, I won't quit. I'll die before I quit. Right. Well, they've already quit mentally and their body is going to give out. And so those are the guys, they end up getting injured. They end up having trouble because they're not aligned. I have a business coach who talks about alignment all the time. And he's absolutely right. And I buy into it 100%. When you're not aligned with your goal, your thoughts, your minds, your action, your everything you're doing, things will manifest in your life. And this isn't like magic mumbo jumbo stuff. This is reality. Like your body will react to how you think. I don't care what any man or woman has ever imagined a scary scenario or a fighting scenario and felt their adrenaline rise, even when there's nothing going on, like because of their imagination. That's the effect of the mind on the body. And it goes like 10 levels deeper than that. But like when people start to think like that, like this is really hard, I can't do this,
right.
But I'll die before I ever quit. They may not quit, but their body will. They're the ones that end up with the shin splints, the chronic shin splints. They're the ones that end up getting injured. Like you see it. It happens very fast in those kind of situations, but it's the same with anything else. So think about with your marriage, like I'm huge on marriage too, because, we work through a lot of that in my deployments. My wife respected how driven I was to do what I wanted to do. But at the same time, it's tough for her being home and run, me away all the time. So I was being very intentional. I had to be very intentional. We had to about developing what we wanted out of our marriage. Right. And so when people enter these situations, when they enter marriage, school, whatever, with this mentality, like, I don't like this, but I'm gonna work through it. You're not aligned with the end goal. So things will come up. It's going to be harder than it normally would. Right. And it's a really weird dynamic too. We're getting into some other stuff here. I'm huge into philosophy and psychology and stuff, but
I'm enjoying
getting into some other things. Yeah. Like, well, when you think about it, if you're not aligned with the end goal, and it becomes harder and harder. But when we get to the end, we're always like, yes, it was so hard. And if it wasn't hard, for some reason, we don't think we deserve it. Imagine when you see that 21-year-old driving that Lamborghini, the first thing that comes into like blue collar people's heads is like, who the fuck gave that? He didn't earn that. You're like, you know what I mean? And you're totally like, but that's the wrong mentality. The mentality should be, he must be so good at what he did, or so aligned with that he earned that it came easy to him. Yeah. That's what you want, right? You want to go to rescue swimmer school and it be easy. You want it to, but at the same time you don't, because you can't brag about it unless it's hard. There's this weird, that's so weird, right? And so I got like my whole business now, I do a lot of passive income with real estate. And so that's a weird it's like this weird block in people's minds. Like if it's not hard, I didn't earn it and I don't deserve it, which is BS, man. you have so much value in you that it should absolutely be easy. And so that was in my goals. When I wrote going to pararescue, I wrote my goals down. I want to graduate pararescue, and I want it to be easy. And I'll tell you, I enjoyed every fucking minute of it. I enjoyed sleeping in the mud, face down, carrying my buddies. Like I enjoyed, it was awesome.
Embrace the suck.
I'd go back into, embrace the suck. Absolutely. Embrace it. Like that's part of the process.
Yeah. Hey, if it was easy, everybody would do it. And it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But see, that's also part of the mentality of like, if it's not hard, it's not worth anything. I'm kind of against that. Like if you're aligned with it, it's easy. I mean, it is, right? Like that's you want to be there.
Right.
You wanted to be at rescue swimmer school. You wanted to do that. You were not going to quit. You wanted to have that, that experience. And so you did. But that guy that you're talking about that quit, he didn't want it.
No, didn't want it. And you could, if we want to make this for everybody, like not everybody's a rescue swimmer, not everybody's a paramedic,
sure.
Not everybody's a PJ. I am not a PJ.
Right.
But you know what? Every one of us, everybody in the world can go to a gym. Everybody can go get a workout in. Everybody. I don't care who you are. I don't care the ailment you have. You can go get a workout. Half the battle is getting to the gym. Mindset number one. The second mindset of it is finishing the workout. And then from there, those are the two easiest things you can do. And that's exactly what you're talking about. Like the whole mindset of it, go to the gym or go get a workout in, finish it.
Yeah.
All the rest of the stuff in between your workout, it can be hard. It can be an easy. Where's your alignment? I'm with you, man. Oh, this is deep. I like it.
Yeah. You're one thought away from taking that first step to the life you want and whatever it is. So I'm a huge mindset guy. Yeah.
Ashton, this has been freaking awesome. Thank you.
I love talking about this stuff, man. I do. I enjoy it. I enjoy being challenged, and I enjoy figuring out how to, make it easy.
And actually, I'll throw one more thing out there for you, because you're currently running your own company, the Valkyrie. Is that the one? And you're about to start a podcast, or have just started a podcast. So you have to throw that out there. Yep. I get to be a guest. Whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
So sharing a little love there.
That'll be fun.
But
I get to hear your story now.
Hey, come on. It'll be good. So I'll tell you what, tell everybody what the podcast is and your business and kind of what you're doing.
Yeah. So the podcast is called The Art of Winning. It's all about building health, wealth, and happiness. It's really focused on what we just talked about. And so there's a lot of aspects of what health, wealth, and happiness looks like. And there's a lot of tactics, tools, and tricks to get there. But again, it does start with what do you want? You want to make $1 million in a year? We'll talk about that there. You want to change the financial footprint for your family for the rest of the generations to come. We talk about that. You want to change your health. We talk about that. We talk about the mindset that actually builds happiness and focus and drive and all that stuff. So some really cool guests on there, because my business. So my company is Valkyrie Investment Group, and it's actually spelled VALKERE, which is an anagram of my last name.
Nice.
And that one's it's all about building passive income through real estate investing. You can always check out our website, Valkyrie Investment Group. We do focus a lot on the financial side, which seems to be one of the more popular things people can talk about, or we have been able to talk about, because there's so many people there's so many different strategies to building wealth. You can check out the website. We have a great website. You see me and my brother and our families right on there. Hard to miss. But it's been fun.
Man, incredible. Ashton, this has been totally awesome. Thank you so much for joining me and telling not only the rescue stories, but giving some great advice. Much appreciated.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, thank you. I love being on here. So
well, heck, anytime, man. Come on. Go. You might have to do a couple more rescues. So I don't know what you like. Find somebody on like a car crash or something. Just go to it, and then you can come back on and tell us all about it.
I've done a car crash.
Okay. Go ahead. Tell me the car crash. Tell me the car crash.
Yeah, so I've done a couple actually. You know, it's America. There's tons of car crashes. Me and Darren Smith pulled a girl and her kid out of a burning car up in Washington State. Everyone's just driving by. It was crazy. Yeah, car's on fire, and Darren Smith, rest his soul, one of my best friends. He's passed, but yeah, he was on his way out leaving, and I was on my way in, and we spent a weekend together up in Washington State because I was going to the Advanced Rescue Swimmer School. Okay. And out there, and he had just finished it, and so we were hanging out, and we were driving somewhere up in Seattle, I think. I don't know, but yeah, on the highway, and then there's some lady in her car, and it's just burning, and we're like, what the hell? Everybody's just driving right by, and so we jump out and pulled them out, pulled them upwind, and waited for the ambulance.
Dude, you're the man. No, I'm ending it. I'm ending it on that. Ashton, you are the man. Thank you so much for coming on, dude. This is awesome.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Jason.
Oh, I'll talk to you. I will very much talk to you soon. It's going to be good. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. Go. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Real ResQ Podcast. Please take a minute to like, subscribe, and hit that share button. I'm pulling chocks and taking off. But before I go, if anyone out there has a rescue story they would be willing to share, I would be humbled and honored to have you on as a guest. Or if you have any questions about rescue or anything else we talk about here, send an email to jason@therealresq.com. That's Jason at TheRealResq.com. You can also check us out on our web pages, therealresq.com, our Facebook page, and our Instagram page @TheRealResQ. Again, a special thank you to all of you staying on the watch today. Always remember, when that SAR alarm goes off, those in distress are praying for a miracle. They are going to get you. Until next time, fly safe and swim hard.